Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his voice. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our Mighty One is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you the daughters of Sarah. This is part 7. Ruth. Ruth is a story of the virtuous woman. She is the example for all ladies to follow. If that's so, Brother David, why didn't you call this series The Daughters of Ruth? Because Ruth is a Moabitish woman. She is not an Israelite. She is not a Yesharalite. Yet, she has been given a place of prominence by Yahuwah, and she has 4 chapters in this book. Isn't that amazing? Now, ladies, when you look at this story of Ruth, you're going to find it's a story of redemption. It's a story of love. It's a story of a kinsman, the kinsman redeemer. Here's something else about this book of Ruth. It is grounded and rooted in the law. You cannot understand the story of Ruth unless you understand the law. Let's see if Brother David can bring out some major points to you. Remember, we have been destroyed. Let's see if we can regain some of our heritage today. Ruth, chapter 1, verse 1 to 5. Verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab. He and his wife and his 2 sons. Verse 2. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephratites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. Verse 3. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons. Verse 4. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. Verse 5. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. She came with her husband. She had 2 sons. All of the men died. She had no covering left. Verse 6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that Yahuwah had visited his people in giving them bread. Verse 7. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. Verse 8. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return, each to her mother's house. She's going to bless them. May Yahuwah deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. Verse 9. May Yahuwah grant that ye may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Let's stop. Orpah and Ruth's husband died. What does she mean that you find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband? Being under the law, if the husband dies, the woman is free. She can marry again. So what she was saying is that when you find your new husband, may you find rest. Your rest, ladies, is being with a husbandman. Return back to the old ways, which is the good way. What are you going to find? Rest for your souls. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. Verse 10, and they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. Verse 11, and Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Why is she saying this? According to the law, if your son dies and he has a brother, the brother of the son that died must go into the wife, take his brother's wife unto himself, go into her, raise up a seed so that the name of his brother will not be forgotten. But she couldn't do that, could she? Because both of her sons had already died. So now she's saying, do I have another son in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Verse 12, turn again, my daughters, go your way, go home. For I am too old to have an husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, verse 13, would you wait for them till they were grown? Let's say Orpah and Ruth were 17 or 18 years old. Let's say that the time when the young man is fully grown would be 18. Orpah and Ruth would be 36, and the young man would be 18. It would be a mismatch. Would ye stay for them from having husbands? Would you stop from marrying another man? No, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of Yahuwah is gone out against me. Verse 14, and they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law. That means she was leaving. But Ruth clave unto her. Verse 15, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. Follow the example that your sister-in-law did and go back to your family. Go back to your people. Verse 16, and Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. Listen to the covenant that was struck by the virtuous woman. When I married couples in New York, I gave this covenant to the woman to recite unto her husband. For whither thou goest, I will go. And where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy mighty one, my mighty one. Verse 17, listen to this part. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. Yahuwah do so to me, and more also, if anything but death part thee and me. She just made a covenant and a contract, and she sealed it with the name of Yahuwah. Listen, brothers and sisters, all of those who are married, what do we have here in America, and whose name that we make our contracts in? Jesus? If you went to the justice of the peace, no name. Now that we've come into reality, we've learned who we are. Renew your vows. Speak these things to each other. Have witnesses there before you. You can do it yourself in your home. You don't need a preacher or anyone else to perform this rite. Verse 18. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. She said, okay, I give up. I can't convince this young lady to go back. Verse 19. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them, and they said, is this Naomi? They had missed them. They were happy to see them. Verse 20. And she said unto them, don't call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Don't call me pleasant. Call me Mara. Mara means bitter. For the Almighty have dealt very bitterly with me. Why did she say something like this? Verse 21. Here's the answer. I went out full. Let's stop. What does full mean? She had a husbandman, a covering. She had 2 sons to inherit the land. And Yahuwah have brought me home again empty. What is empty? Not having a husbandman, nor having 2 sons to inherit the land. Why then call ye me pleasant, seeing Yahuwah have testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? What is affliction in this circumstance? No husbandman, no covering, no sons to carry on the name. Verse 22. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest, right before Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. Where did we learn that a woman doesn't need a man? You learned that in America. Everything here is twisted. Do you know why they teach our women that they don't need a man? They don't want us to have a society, a heritage, a culture, or to leave an inheritance for our children. Why do you think we don't have any inheritance for our children today? Because there's no husbandmen. Let's continue to chapter 2. Ruth, chapter 2, verses 1 to 5. Verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. Enter the kinsman redeemer according to the law. Verse 2. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, Let me now go to the field, and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, Go, my daughter. Here's this point. This is in the law, brothers and sisters. In the law, it states that if a person has fields, when it comes harvest time and the reapers go forth to reap the bulk of the harvest, everything that falls to the ground is to be left for who? The widows, the homeless, the poor, and the fatherless. Everyone eats in the land of Yasharal, even the stranger. Here's something else. Even when it wasn't harvest time, if someone was to come through your fields and they were hungry, they could eat to their fill. They just could not carry anything out in baskets to go and sell or take something home to eat for later. But you can go to someone's field and eat until you are filled. Let me give you an example. Do you remember the Mashiach on the Sabbath day was coming through the cornfields and his disciples decided to eat some of the corn? They plucked it and ate it, and the scribes and the Pharisees saw it. What did the scribes and the Pharisees say? Did they say, Why are you stealing corn out of your brother's fields? They didn't say that, did they? They asked a different question. Why are your disciples picking corn on the Sabbath day? So it is lawful for you to go into your brother's field and eat. Go over to Jerusalem today and try to go into somebody's cornfield and eat their food. You will find yourself in jail. Verse 3. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she just happened to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz. Yahuwah led her there, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. Verse 4. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said unto the reapers, Shalom. He didn't say that. Why do we say shalom? Shalom means peace be unto you, correct? Tell me, which is more powerful, for us to say shalom, or to say what Boaz and his servants said? Look at what they said. This is Boaz speaking. Yahuwah be with you. It's directional. It's not peace be unto you. It's not directional. It's not coming from anyone but you. But Boaz is saying, Yahuwah be with you. Look at the reply from the reapers. And Yahuwah bless you. This should be our greeting. Verse 5. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, Whose damsel is this? He just came back from Bethlehem. The first thing that he noticed after he speaks to his reapers was, Who is this woman over here in my field? She caught his attention. I wonder what it was. I wonder, what did he see in her? Verse 6. And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. You see the small towns? Her fame had spread through the land. Everyone was talking about this Moabitish woman that came back with Naomi. Verse 7. And she said, Ruth said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came, and have continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. This is a powerful woman. She has 2 mouths to feed. She started gleaning from the sheaves from the morning. She rested for a little while and went straight on through to the evening. Verse 8, Then Boaz said unto Ruth, Hearest thou not, my daughter? Don't go and glean in another field, neither leave from here, but stay here, fast by my maidens. Verse 9, Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and follow after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? He already told them, listen, he already made the way for her. Don't touch her. Let her go behind my maidens. And when thou art thirsty, go unto the vessels, and drink of that which the young men have drawn. What favor she found in his sight. Verse 10, Look at the reaction of the virtuous woman. All of this is lost today here in America. This still happens in Africa and amongst our people who have not been destroyed. Verse 10, Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou should take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? Was she naked? No. Did they find out that she was good in bed or something? No. Was he lusting after her? No. Look what happened. Verse 11. And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband. Her fame had preceded her. And how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore. Listen to this, brothers and sisters, who this woman Ruth is likened unto. She is likened unto Abraham. This is the woman Abraham. What did she do? She left her father. She left her mother. She left the land of her nativity. She came unto a land which she knewest not, unto a people which she knewest not. She followed instructions. She trusted in Yahuwah. Therefore it is accounted unto her as righteousness. A man, a kinsman, redeemer, one who knows the law, recognized this immediately. Had nothing to do with her coming with tight clothes on, showing off her stuff. Verse 12. Listen to the blessing. Yahuwah recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of Yahuwah, the mighty one of Yasharal, under whose wings thou art come to trust, just like Abraham. Verse 13. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my master, for that thou hast comforted me. Let's stop a moment. Let's stop. She found comfort. How did she find comfort? In her kinsman redeemer? Remember what happened. Her husband died. Orpah's husband died. They were left alone with their mother-in-law. Orpah left. What did Ruth do? She said she made a covenant with Naomi. She told her that she's going with her. They traveled that long road alone. Who knows what they encountered in hunger and in thirst. Now she comes into the land of Yasharal, not knowing where they're going to get their next meal from or what's going to happen next. But now she has found comfort in Boaz. And for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid. Could it be that others have spoken rough unto her? Though I be not like unto one of thine handmaids. She was not one of the children of Yasharal. Verse 14. And Boaz said unto her at mealtime, come over here, come with me, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. You know that, have you ever been to a place like Carrabba's and they make this little dipping sauce with the oil, the vinegar, the wine vinegar, the oil, and some garlic and some seasoning in there? That's what they were doing here. And she sat besides the reapers, and he reached her parched corn. Who reached her parched corn? Boaz took the parched corn, and he went over and served Ruth. He gave it to her, and she did eat, and she was full, and then she left. Verse 15. And when she was risen up to glean the next day, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. Here's that word, reproach. Don't disgrace her. Don't you rebuke her. Don't cast her aside. Verse 16. Listen to the favor that she received. She did not receive this favor because she was naked. She was covered. Why did she receive so much favor? Her fame preceded her. Everyone in town was talking about this woman of virtue. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them. And don't you rebuke her. Don't reproach her. Hey, they must have spotted the place where she was gleaning, and in the path in which she was coming, they would throw down full ears of corn, grain, barley, so that she can glean them. Verse 17. So she gleaned in the field until even. She started in the morning and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. That's approximately 50 pounds. How was she going to carry 50 pounds all the way home? Verse 18. And she took it up, put it on her back, and went into the city. And her mother-in-law saw that she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. Do you know what they're saying here? Ruth saved some of the parched corn, some of the bread, some of the wine vinegar that they had there to dip their bread in, and she brought it home to her mother-in-law, Naomi. Verse 19. And her mother-in-law said unto her, hey, where did you glean today? And where did you get all this stuff? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, the man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. Verse 20. Listen to the reply of Naomi. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of Yahuwah, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, the man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. So before, she said, call me bitter. But now she is giving praise and glory to Yahuwah and the man whom he had sent to feed them. Verse 21. And Ruth, the Moabitess, said, can you see this? Picture this in your mind. The two ladies are sitting down in the house after Ruth came home triumphant with all of this stuff. And then they just found out that the man in which gave it to her was one of their closest kin, a kinsman redeemer. So now they're talking about what happened during that day. Verse 21, and Ruth the Moabitess said, he said unto me also, thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all of my harvest. What a privilege. Verse 22, and Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, oh, this is some good stuff, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, how you have found favor in his sight, that they meet thee not in any other field. Verse 23, so she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of the barley harvest and of the wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law, and dwelt with her boyfriend. No, she stayed fast by her mother-in-law. She kept her virtue at all times. Let's continue to chapter 3. Ruth, chapter 3, verse 1 to 5. We're binge reading today. We want to hear the rest of the story. They're in a conversation. We have to keep going. Verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee? What is rest here in this passage? Shall I not seek a husband for thee? Yasharol has found rest in Yahuwah, their husbandman, Ishi. The woman finds rest in her husbandman, that it may be well with thee. So if it's well for you to find rest with the husbandman, how is it without one? Verse 2. And now is not Boaz our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. How does she know that? Well, it's a small town, so she must have spoke to the other ladies, and they were saying, oh, everyone is going to be on the threshing floor tonight. Verse 3. Listen to the instructions that Naomi gave to Ruth. Wash yourself and anoint thee. Put on some good, sweet-smelling perfume, and put thy raiment upon thee. Find thy best outfit, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto that man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. This Naomi's good, isn't she? She said, let him have his food and let him have a few glasses of wine, and he'll be nice and mellow and happy. Verse 4. And it shall be when he lieth down, listen to the instructions, that you mark the place where he shall lie. When she said mark, I want you to look, see wherever he is going to lie down. And thou shalt go in and uncover his feet. Take your clothes off, Ruth? No. Uncover his feet. And lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. This meant something. When she uncovered his feet and lay at his feet, it meant that she submitted unto his authority. Verse 5. Listen what Ruth said. Did she argue with her mother-in-law? Did she talk back? Did she tell her, I'm not going to do it? No. All that thou sayest unto me, I will do. She knew nothing about this practice. This was unusual. She came from Moab. She's never heard of this, but yet, because she is a virtuous woman, she follows instructions, she's not a rebel, she did exactly what her mother-in-law told her. Verse 6, and she went down unto the floor, and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her, even though she didn't understand it. She followed instructions. Verse 7, and when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn, and she came softly, we call it creeping, and uncovered his feet and laid down at his feet. This is a sign of submission. Verse 8, and it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He didn't know who it was. Verse 9, and he said, who are you? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. We don't understand this language, but Boaz does. She was telling him, be my covering, because you are the kinsman redeemer. Verse 10, and he said, blessed be thou of Yahuwah my daughter, for thou hast showed me more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning. Listen why. Inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. He must have been a man that was of age. He may have been like me, almost 60 years old. And here, this fine 18 or 20-year-old woman, we just know she was very young, came and asked him to do the part of the kinsman redeemer. She could have went after someone else, some young guy who was poor or rich, but she followed the law. Who instructed her? Naomi, her mother-in-law. Ladies, this is why it's important that the older women teach the younger women. Verse 11, and now, my daughter, fear not. Don't you worry. I will do thee all that thou requirest. What does she require? She wanted him to be her covering. She wanted him to carry out the law of the kinsman redeemer. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. Did he say some of the people knew? He said all of the people. Verse 12, and now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit, stop. Howbeit means but. Don't you hate when there's a but coming? But there is a kinsman nearer than I. My. Ruth's heart must have fallen to the ground. She's interested in Boaz. She doesn't want any other guy. Boaz showed her kindness. Boaz spoke softly to her. Boaz gave her favor. Verse 13, wait. That's what the word tarry means. Wait this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman well. Let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee. As Yahuwah liveth, he swore unto her, lie down until the morning. Do you see that word kinsman, 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 4 times in verse 13, 2 times in verse 12. Kinsman. Does it say kinswoman? There is not a woman that can carry out the part of a kinsman. Verse 14. And she lay at his feet until morning. Did she take her clothes off and give her some? And she rose up before one could know another. She left before things got heated. And he said to her, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. Shh, don't you tell anyone that you was here. They may see this differently. They may make things up. They may say that we were here committing fornication. Verse 15. Also he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her back, and she went into the city. Verse 16. And when she came to her mother-in-law, you know Naomi was waiting. She probably couldn't contain herself. She was probably standing at the door, at the window, everything, looking for Ruth to come down the road. Is that you, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. Listen to this. She asked her, she said, is that you? Ruth didn't even tell her, yeah, it's me, Naomi. She just started telling her everything that happened. Then what did he say? Then what did he do? And how did he do it? How did he look? Was he excited? Was he happy? Verse 17. And she said, these 6 measures of barley gave he me. He gave me this gift. For he said to me, go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. Wow. Verse 18. Look at Naomi. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. You need an older woman to instruct you. Here's the problem. We don't have any older women to teach the younger women. The generations of teachers starts with us. We're this 4th generation that's coming up out of this mentality that we've learned here in the United States of America. Teach your daughters how to perform. Teach them how to be virtuous. Teach them to submit unto the man. Let's continue to chapter 4. Ruth, chapter 4, verse 1 to 5. Now, brothers and sisters, you shall see how the law is to be carried out of the kinsman redeemer. The problem with America, we don't have any law. We have no structure. One of us, we would have slept with that woman. Would it have been lawful? Not when there's another kinsman before him. So he had to follow the procedure. He could not just jump into the bed and use her body. In the kingdom, righteous men will not do that. The wicked men will be destroyed. There will only be righteous men there. Women shall seek after us. Brothers, learn the ways of Yahuwah. You shall be far above and not beneath. Verse 1. Then went Boaz to the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Yo, man, come over here. Sit down over here. And he turned aside and sat down. Verse 2. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. So he had a quorum. This is what we must do anytime we're making major decisions. We have to have a quorum. 10 men, 10 elders of the city, not young men, elders. Verse 3. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. Verse 4. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. You see your kinsman redeemer here? But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem it besides me, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Verse 5. Boaz's heart must have dropped. The other kinsman had said, I will do so. Then Boaz said, What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Now, for us who don't understand what they're saying here, but according to the law, the kinsman redeemer must raise up a seed so the name of the brother who died will not perish from the children of Yasharal. Listen to the reply of the kinsman. Verse 6. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself. Boaz's heart must have almost jumped out of his chest. I can hear him right now. Praise Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Eloheinu, Yahuwah. Listen to his brother. Lest I mar mine own inheritance. How would he mar his own inheritance? Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. I wonder what the circumstances were. He was ready to redeem the property, but he was not ready to raise up a seed for his kinsman. Verse 7. Now this was the manner in former time in Yasharal concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things. We're talking the law here. A man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Yasharal. This was the signing of your contract. Verse 8, Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. Let's look at the other side. If there's two brothers in the house, one of the brothers die. The other brother that's in the house is supposed to take his brother's wife. If she did not have a male heir, he was supposed to raise up a seed so his brother's name would not be forgotten. If he did not do so, he is supposed to draw off his shoe, or the woman, the wife, or the brother's wife would take his shoe and spit in his face, and he would be known by an evil name. Read the law for yourself. You're going to be blown away. Verse 9. And Boaz said unto the elders, and unto all the people, Ye are my witnesses this day, that I have bought all that is Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's, of the hand of Naomi. Verse 10. Moreover, but the greatest of all, Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife. So the kinsman here, he purchased a wife to raise up a seed, that the name of Chilion and Mahlon would not be lost. Let's go to Hosea. He purchased his wife back from captivity. She was the wife of whoredoms. She wasn't that virtuous woman, but he purchased her back anyway, and she had to make a covenant with him that she would not be for another man anymore. Do you see how important it is in the kingdom for the kinsman redeemer, for the man? If you want to go into the kingdom of heaven, this is how it's going to be. We're going to have to follow these laws. Look what's going to happen next. To raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. That was the purpose. That the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren. So his name shall go on from generation to generation to generation. Do you see how important the name is? Do you see what the 7 women who tried to attach themselves to one man says, just give us your name to take away our reproach? The name of the husbandman is the most important thing in the kingdom. And from the gate of this place, ye are witnesses this day. Verse 11. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. Listen to the blessing. Yahuwah make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Yasharol. And do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. Did you understand what just happened? They put a blessing upon Ruth, that her house be like Rachel and Leah. Did you know that Rachel and Leah gave Jacob? I'm just going to use Jacob. His true name is Yasharol, but we understand Jacob. But so that we can make this easy, Rachel and Leah gave Jacob their servants, Zilpah and Bilhah. Jacob went into them and had sons. This completed the 12 tribes. Did you know that the children that came from the servants of Rachel and Leah was likened unto the children of Rachel and Leah themselves? Why is that? Because Rachel and Leah owned those servants, so the children belonged to them. That's why it says, which two did build the house of Yasharol. Do you see that? This is how it works, brothers and sisters. We're not talking about European customs. We're not talking about demonic customs. We're talking about the ways of Yahuwah. And do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. They put a blessing upon the seed that would come from the union of Boaz and Ruth. Let your child be famous. Verse 12. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which Yahuwah shall give thee of this young woman. Do you know the story of Tamar and Judah? It's another story of the kinsman redeemer. But Tamar was a little crafty. Tamar's husband died. She had no male heir. Judah, his wife, died. He was alone. Tamar decided to be crafty because Judah had one more son, but he was too young. Tamar was supposed to wait until he was grown, and then the son was supposed to do the part of the kinsman redeemer, but Tamar could not wait. She said to herself, maybe I'll be too old to bear a seed. So she sat by the side of the road and waited for Judah. She played the harlot. Read the story, and you'll see how she brought forth Pharez. Verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And he went in unto her. Yahuwah gave her conception, and she bare a son. Verse 14. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be Yahuwah, which have not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Yasharal. What kinsman is that? The baby that came out of the union of Boaz and Ruth. Do you hear me? Hey, this child did not belong to Boaz and Ruth. Remember, Boaz was supposed to raise up a seed, so the name of Chilion and Malon would not be lost. Who did they give the baby to? Naomi. Verse 15. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life. Unto who? Unto Naomi. Do you see the word restorer? In it, it has rest. She has found rest in Boaz, the kinsman redeemer, who raised up a seed unto her, and unto her daughter-in-law, who gave this baby over to Naomi to restore her life, and a nourisher in thine old age. Now she has no more worries. She has a kinsman that will take care of her. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, have borne him. I agree. I am a witness this day that this woman, Ruth, loves her mother-in-law to be the surrogate to make sure that Naomi's life was restored. How many of us today would do this? Verse 16. And Naomi took the child, you see, and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. Check this out, brothers and sisters. When you have reading comprehension, you can always see the failure of the translator. Look what they put there, and became nurse unto it. How could Naomi become a nurse unto this child? She had to be pregnant. She had to have milk in her breasts. But that is not the case here, because this is not a European custom. This is an Israelite, Yesharalite custom. This nurse word should be mother unto it, because that's how it works. and became mother unto it. Verse 17. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name. Did Ruth give the baby a name? Did Naomi give the baby a name? The neighbors did, saying, there is a son born to Ruth, Naomi. And they called his name Obed. I guess maybe Obed means there's a son born to Naomi. There's a son born to the pleasant one. Look who Obed ben Chilion, Obed ben Malon is the father of. He is the father of Jesse. And Jesse, the father of David. Do you remember they said, let him be famous in Yasharal? Was that some prophecy? Verse 18. Look how important this Ruth is. She is so important that they actually put the lineage here. Verse 18. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begot Hezron. Verse 19. And Hezron begot Ram. And Ram begot Amminadab. Verse 20. And Amminadab begot Nahshon. And Nahshon begot Solomon. Verse 21. And Solomon begot Boaz. And Boaz begot Obed. Verse 22. And Obed begot Jesse. And Jesse begot King David. See what happens when you follow instructions. When you do things according to the law. Kings and princes will be born from your womb. Now, ladies, doesn't this custom sound strange? I mean, have you ever heard of anything like this before? This is how much we have lost. Thousands of years have passed. We have been destroyed. We don't know whether we're coming or we're going. The only thing we know is Mr. White's ways. And Mr. White's ways are so twisted and so evil, it is destroying the whole world. But we're different. We're returning back to Yahuwah. We're going to keep his ways. We're going into the kingdom where we will have our own land. And here's something very important. We'll have our own laws. Laws like this. You will never lose your inheritance. That's why it was set up. Yahuwah be with you. What is your reply? Yahuwah bless you, Brother David. Continue to part 8.